All right, I'm going to pin myself. Okay, so let me get started real quick with an icebreaker. I just want to give y'all, we'll do like a sound check on everyone, unless you're with your Jane and you got 8 kids somehow and a doctor to juggle too. If you could sound check Jane, that's great. But if you can't, that's fine too. What are you bringing to your Christmas feast this year? Just what dish are you responsible for cooking? Renee, you want to start us?
I barely heard you. I think you said me, right?
Yeah. What dish are you bringing for the Christmas meal this year?
We'll do a spiral ham and green beans.
Nice. Love it. Okay. Who's next? Carol, what are you bringing this year?
We're going to do a standing rib roast so that my son with allergies can eat red meat now, and my husband with low salt will get an unsalted portion of the meat.
Awesome. Okay. All right, Carol, you got a lot of different things to consider. Jennifer, how about you? Your family was asking for more variety too this week.
Yeah, we're doing the honey baked ham, spiral ham thing, and then we are also planning for mac and cheese, green beans. We've got a request for a pumpkin pie, a pecan pie. All the really good comfort foods for the gang.
Good. I love it. Comfort foods are important. Jane, can you sound check? What are you bringing for the Christmas meal this year? No worries. I think she's in between the doctor right now. Okay, let me go ahead and start with what we talked about last week. And I'm glad, Carol, this will be helpful for you to hear because I'm going to have you do this exercise soon too. I'm probably going to have everybody do this exercise. What I had them go through last week, trying to pull this up on my screen, is just like what I call like the 6 foundational behaviors. And the 6 foundational behaviors are what have sort of emerged as just the most important things that people really have got to be doing long term to master their health, and these are the most important behaviors. So I asked everybody to give themselves a grade. Can y'all see my screen here? Let's see, wait, not yet. Oh, sorry. Can y'all see it now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so Carol, I asked everybody to give them a grade, and I'll actually have you give yourself a grade here too. And it's okay, a lot of people have never really seen these behaviors kind of listed in this way. But a huge one that I'm seeing, just my clients that have long-term success and clients that really hit the ground running, like if somebody comes and they join the program, the ones that start to see the most success really quickly are the ones that have a consistent meal structure. And that is so simple, and it is so hard to do. I think most people have said, yeah, I sort of do pretty good on that, but it's actually really hard to keep up with. And it is hard to keep up with because not much in our world is consistent. But again, guys, if you didn't get like a better than a 3 on that, don't pass go. That's where we just really need to spend a lot of time and focus on making that more consistent. Because it's so hard for us to do any of the other nutrition stuff if you don't have a consistent meal structure. Oh, I have someone. So in other words, if we want to increase your daily greens, we want to increase the nutrient density of your diet, or we want you to get a little bit more protein, and you have a consistent meal structure, we can literally look at your log together and say, hey, let's make this small tweak here. Let's make a little adjustment there. And it's easy at that point. But if you don't have that, if you're kind of all over the place, there's so many more variables we have to kind of manipulate. It's also a lot harder to learn if your food is inconsistent. It's harder to isolate what are the variables that are really making a difference if you don't have some consistency there. So Kim is jumping on the call right now. She's not in yet, but she is really consistent through the week, and then the weekends come and her meal structure goes all over the place. So again, that's a huge one to start on. Was there any other one, Jennifer Clay? Which one did you say you had the most struggle, the biggest struggle on? What's the hardest one you have a hard time with?
I still struggle with the consistent meal structure, I think. You know, and I was saying, particularly right now, you know, kids being home and we're just doing things, you know, a mile a minute or changing plans or whatever. And, you know, trying to have some spontaneity instead of just constantly the same old, same old. But
right.
What I will find is, you know, when I have Vital Fit and I go do that and I come home and I get my breakfast in at a, you know, reasonable time in the morning, and then I'm hungry if I don't eat something for lunch. And then if I miss that lunch, if I just do the protein shake, I can't make the goal. And so I've got to eat a little more at lunchtime. We always have a sit down dinner, so I'm not having trouble on the back end of eating, but I can't get it all in, you know, if I don't feel better during the middle of the day.
Right.
And
So
that's when you're so busy, you know, you're running around. So.
And number two is eat enough nutrients and energy. And it's hard to do that if it's not. And so, and by the way, Jennifer, I just personally, like, I come from a background of being like I don't say chef, but like a cook, that I try to aim to be a chef. And I love spontaneous, beautiful food. So like, I want you to be able to be spontaneous. You'll have more freedom to be spontaneous though, if you've got a structure in place. So yeah.
Right.
I think you're like most people, Jennifer. It's a struggle. And I'll argue that being consistent isn't about taking all the fun out. It really, consistency can be, well, I know I'm going to go out to eat lunch with a girlfriend. And so I'm going to have like a protein and vegetable, just like a small serving of protein and vegetable before I go. You know, that's all that has to mean. There's just a structure to the way you eat, and you know you're eating your proteins, fats, carbs, and vegetables, and you know a restaurant's basically just going to give you fats and carbs. So anyway,
right, and it's that awareness that's helpful, you know, and you know when you're low. I mean, you know, and you do the best you can, and don't beat yourself up over it, but you know, try to make up for it, as you said, so like the next day. But you know, when you run into Nama and you have their shrimp tacos, and then I don't have the foggiest idea how much that really is. I can't calculate. No, that's just what you're gonna do.
Yeah. Well, so one thing that just for, this is a side note, but that meal matrix is designed to help you also kind of figure out what's in your restaurant meal. So the 115 grams of that lean protein, 115 grams is the max serving a restaurant's ever going to give you. So Nama is probably going to be a little bit less than that. And so you could say, well, the shrimp tacos at Nama is probably going to give me 20 grams of protein, you know, something like that. So that's just an aside.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's a good way to manage it.
And you'll also realize restaurants are rarely serving you lean meats. They're often serving you fatty meats. And so you're getting 115 grams of a fatty meat, which is going to bump your protein down from about 30 grams of protein to about 20 grams of protein. So that's just something to kind of think through. So here's the deal. I'm going to send out some individual feedback. I already have, if you sent it before today, on all these. If you haven't given yourself a grade yet, I'll send this email out to you again. And we're going to return to these. These aren't going away. And I will say, like, we aren't aiming for perfection. I call 90% perfection. So if you're adhering 90%, you're perfect. But there are ways for super busy people to improve on that, and there are ways to be consistent even through a lot of the chaos. Like the holiday protocol that I'm sending out, I think, is just one example for how you can maintain consistency. And it's not about perfection, but it's still what I would call consistent. So anyways, we'll return to that. Don't worry if you're not crushing it on all of these. But if in 2 to 3 weeks you have made like no progress on one of these, like obviously I'm trying to watch for these too. But I want you to know what I'm looking for as well. Like if you just are not progressing in your strength training for a month, that's something that we'll want to try to address. But also at the same time, I know that it's hard to do 5 or 6 things at once. It's helpful to prioritize sometimes, to put your focus on one or the other. So I always try to strike that balance, and I always appreciate you to give feedback on how we can find that balance, because at the end of the day, it's about you prioritizing, and I can just kind of point you in the direction. Okay, so today, now what do you do when you're doing those 6 things? What's the first step? And for most people, the first step is what I call like the foundation phase. And the foundation of what? Well, the foundation of your metabolism. And so that's why I also had y'all look at your Harris-Benedict equation, which estimates your caloric needs. And it's a pretty rough tool. It's a blunt tool. It's not perfect, but it is it's a useful tool. Jennifer, do you mind if I use you as an example again, just because you're the last email in my inbox?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. All right. So Carol, you'll have seen that Harris-Benedict equation is something that I've run for you. This is also really, really relevant to Jane. By the way, Jane, I see your chat now. You're bringing cheesy apples for Christmas. It's okay. You can't get your microphone to work. But okay, so this was an exercise I had you guys run. The Harris-Benedict estimates a number, and it tells you, hey, this is about how many calories your body wants to burn when you're happy and healthy. And the way they got that number is they just pull people off the street and throw them into a lab, and they analyze how much energy their body expends in a normal day. So it's based on your height, weight, age, and gender. What we found for most of us, I think everybody that I asked your Harris-Benedict last week, everybody put in a number that was what? Higher, lower, or about where their Harris-Benedict was. What did y'all do? Actually, Carol, what would you guess? When I ask people, hey, estimate your Harris-Benedict, do you think people were low, dead on, or a little bit high?
Low.
Yeah, they're low. We all underestimate how much energy we need to rock and roll and just live a real good, happy, healthy life. And the reason why this is so counterintuitive, and Renee, you sent, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. The reason why it's so counterintuitive is we say, well, if I have weight I want to lose, that must mean that I've eaten too much, right? Isn't that the obvious thing? Like historically, I've eaten too much.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing is, it's all in context of what you're doing. You may have eaten too much for your metabolism, but you probably haven't eaten too much to sustain these critical behaviors. And, you're probably not training and all that kind of stuff. So we've got to put together a really, really big puzzle piece. And most people, this has been a crazy thing that I've discovered just by hundreds and hundreds of reps with working with people over the last 4 or 5 years, is that even people that are substantially overweight and have a lot of weight that they want to lose are hardly eating up to the amount of energy that they need. And when you take someone and you never help them bring their metabolism up to a normal level, to a reasonable level, and put them into weight loss and say, hey, let's dive into weight loss right now. What you do is you set people up to churn, and you set people up to lose weight and kind of gain it back, because there's not a firm foundation for weight loss at the beginning point. And so unfortunately, for about the first 2 years of my working as a coach, I worked with a lot of clients who had really good results in the short term, and then either had a really long plateau that they just could not lose weight again, or they gained some weight back. Can y'all hear me? I got a message, my internet's unstable, but am I still working?
Yeah, it paused for a minute, but you're back.
Okay, awesome. So it's definitely my huge priority for people to build a foundation of a sustainable metabolism so that you can lose weight, keep it off, feel great, and then, by the way, reverse your long-term disease markers like prediabetes, high A1C, medication, all that kind of stuff kind of travels with your weight to some extent. So this is what it looks like. This is what like a really successful, sort of periodized diet looks like. And I'll have you point on the graph of where you are in the process right about now. Y'all can all see this. Let's do, Jennifer, you start. Point to like, or indicate based on the number of weeks down here, right about where on this chart would you say you are?
Well, I guess I'm close to 17, maybe 18.
Yeah, you're like exactly right here. What this is showing is, Jennifer, you came in your first week, you had like, I think all this on your check-in yesterday. It's fun to go back and look at your recall week. You're eating about 60 grams of protein, 60 to 80 grams of protein, think 14 or 1500 calories. And then some days you would go, you had a weekend where you went on a weekend trip in one of your first 2 weeks, and you ate a lot on that week trip. You know, you got up to 2200 calories, 2300 calories, something like that. But most of your days you were hanging out around that 1500 mark, right? So what we do is we gradually increase your intake. And for a lot of people, you know, I would say it's probably 50-50 or 60-40. We're actually through this process, if you take it a little slow and steady, there's really not a lot of weight gain there. The scale sometimes goes up, but it's very, very minimal. And then sometimes there is a little bit of real weight gain. Sometimes that's just you're storing more fluid, you have more food in your belly. And then sometimes I think if you're Jennifer Clay, you're building a substantial amount of muscle. So Renee, you're lucky. Your weight hasn't gone up at all. You know, you right? Or am I don't think I'm missing that.
Hey, but you're correct. I've been surprised by that.
Yeah. And you've like doubled the amount of food you're eating. I mean, you have substantially increased your food. It's been great. You're feeling better. You're working out better. You're almost like the perfect case of this graph here. Sometimes though the weight ticks up a little bit at the beginning. Sometimes it ticks up a little bit at the end. But in general, at this point, I want to watch the scale because I want to go at an appropriate pace. But usually as we increase there, you increase your activity, you train a little bit harder in the gym, you start to feel better. All that stuff is kind of moving in the right direction. Sometimes there's of the weight gain, it's very rarely like a good amount of fat. Usually you're just storing fluid, or you have more glycogen in your muscles,
Cutting
more
out
food
again,
in your belly.
Andrew.
Oh, how about now? How about now? Am I back?
You're back.
Hey, it looks fine on my end.
Yeah.
just kidding. Okay, so we bring that intake up, and then usually at some. Am I back out? Am I back out?
You're coming and going as Jabba the Hutt.
Okay, hold on. Let me try this. I don't think it's gonna crash everything. Let me go over to my personal hotspot real quick. Stay with me. This will take like 30 seconds. I like the Jabba the Hutt reference, by the way. Come on.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
I'm not talking. Hold on 1 second.
Okay,
Now,
your face is back.
Okay, sweet. How about y'all can hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. I switched over networks, and that's a little bit more hairy than that was. Okay, good. All right. So my point is here, you can very often, you can raise intake up to a normal level, and I'm defining normal level as somewhere close to that Harris-Benedict number, without a substantial amount of fat gain, and very often with very, very minimal weight gain. And sometimes people actually lose weight. That's not uncommon either. is for people to lose, 3 to 5 pounds, something like that. Okay, here's the point. Why is that possible? The reason why that's possible is because your metabolism is ready to adjust. Your body is ready to spend more energy when you've got energy to spend. And your body usually can adapt to much that's in this normal range as long as you kind of go low and slow. And the only thing that happens as you increase your intake is your body just adapts by spending more energy on you, basically. You've got more energy for muscle, bones, brain, even your hair. You've got more energy for all that kind of stuff. So very often, if people have a history of dieting, they'll diet so much that they could start losing their hair, their nails become brittle, or your bones, people have weak bones. This process of increasing your nutrients can substantially increase your longevity by giving you stronger bones, stronger muscles, better energy to your brain, as well as some other things. And so once you've done that, and Jennifer Clay is like one of those patient saints that I get to work with. This is taken for Jennifer longer than it does the average person. Part of that is just because of the timing of the year and your lifestyle. But you've been super patient. You built a substantial amount of muscle. Now you're ready to diet and lose weight, and lose fat in a sustainable fashion. Now, I'm not going to get too much into that on this call. We're going to kind of focus on this reverse diet foundation phase. But Jennifer, yeah, you said you're about at week 17. That's actually just about right, because we're putting a diet on the schedule is starting in about 2 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on this process? Any comments on how you've done it yourself?
It's very helpful, Andrew. I know I'm in a different group, so I guess I'm in week 5. So this is big picture, because I'm a big picture person, and it drives me crazy that I didn't know what the heck we were doing. I'm just taking it on faith and going, okay, I'll eat 200 more calories or whatever.
Yeah, Carol, so I try to get this chart in front of I actually literally didn't print this out the day that we met in the office, but I do try. Sometimes you got to hear this a couple of times for it to be like, well, wait, really? Like really? Okay, you said I increase intake for like 3 or 4 months, but what does that mean? Well, this chart really can help kind of clarify that. So yeah, so we'll steadily bring up your intake, and I'll be watching your weight. Now, the one thing that can happen here is sometimes people can sort of obsess about the weight, and it can be psychologically hard to see the weight. So sometimes people aren't tracking weight as much in this time, but I really want to be able to look at your weight as we're doing this to just see how we're progressing. Kim, welcome in. I'm glad to have you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, few technical issues.
Yeah. Hey, don't worry. I had technical issues on my side too. So, Kim, real quick. So we're showing you've seen this chart before. We're talking this foundation phase. The technical term for it is reverse dieting, because you're a diet. You decrease the amount of food you're eating. Reverse dieting, you're eating more. Kim, you're a person who actually lost a substantial amount of weight during your reverse diet. You actually ate more and more and more and more, and the only thing that happened was you lost weight, which was great. So before we even got to the diet phase, you already got way ahead of the curve and lost a substantial amount of weight. So that was great to see.
Yeah,
so
love it.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to, Andrew? Was that the weight training?
Well, with Kim, it was more. Kim's actually an outlier in a lot of ways. I attribute it to, and you'll see this in the literature. There are studies where they take people into a lab and just overfeed them by like 4,000 calories, and like they'll give them 4,000 calories in a day. And those people, they actually sometimes they'll gain a little bit of weight in a really acute setting like that. Sometimes they won't gain weight at all. And then when they study it, what happens is their brain just goes into overdrive. Their hair grows really fast. They start to fidget. And literally the body just says, I've been given so much extra energy, I'm just going to start expending it. And so some of you may have experienced the reverse of this. Have you ever dieted and found yourself to be like really cold? Really cold? Have you ever dieted and lost hair? Have you ever dieted and really just felt lethargic? Anything like that? So yeah, you're shaking, Kim, that you've experienced that.
Yeah, I think that it's because I was under eating so much that, and I had been so calorie restricted that once I started fueling my body, my metabolism kicked back up, because unfortunately I've not been able to exercise as much because I've got some neck and back issues. So it's definitely, I think it was just my metabolism had just gotten almost permanently stalled. And then once I started eating and got energy and got my sleep cycle, I don't know, the weight just started steadily coming off, even though I've gone up to anywhere between 21 to 2,400 calories a day. And then now I've maintained it for the last 5 months, 6 months. And so hopefully we'll start a diet phase in January, February.
Kim, you're actually a great example. You told me, Reese, it was a long time ago now, but remember when you worked with a trainer for 1 to 2 years? What did that look like? Describe that nutrition protocol and the exercise. Tell me what that looked like. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I worked with a trainer for a year, about 7 or 8 years ago. And I was tracked my calories. I was doing 1,200 calories a day. I was worked out, 4 times a week, worked with a trainer once a week. You know what my goal was what my net gain was at the end of the year? I gained 1 pound. I stayed steady for a year and gained a pound and never lost. And I was doing water aerobics. I was lifting weights. I was, trying to do some spin classes. Gain 1 pound.
And 1,200 calories, and then doing a lot of exercise. Mm-hmm. You're starving your body and then ramping up your expenditure, and that doesn't cause you to lose more weight if it crashes your metabolism. And so
exactly.
So the amazing thing is now, Kim, if you went on a 1,200 calorie diet and kept that for 6 weeks, so you'd probably lose 12 pounds, just like that, because your metabolism now is running at about 2,200 calories. So mm-hmm. Now if you did that, you would lose weight. But we wouldn't do that forever because you're going to adapt again to that. So anyways, that's just, right. But it's very, very, you hear people all the time say, eat less, move more to lose weight. And in general, that will work for like 4 to 6 weeks, sometimes a little bit longer. But when it stops working, it really has stopped working, and it stopped working for good. So I'm always trying to put nutritional advice in the context of the big picture of your metabolism and where is it.
I think it also, that worked for me when I was in my 20s or 30s, but I'm mm-hmm. in my 50s and have yo-yo dieted. So I think my body had just adapted to low calories and not the right foods.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And here's the good news. It does get harder to steward your metabolism as you get older, but the good news is all the behaviors that you need to do to steward your metabolism, it's not for good. If you get back to these things, you can get it back. And so I'm working with I'm working with people in their 80s and 90s, and it works for them too. It's a little bit slower, it's a little bit harder, but it does work. Like if you actually, even if you look at the Harris-Benedict equation, if you look at that formula, if you put the age at 20 or at 80, it'll change your calories by like 100 calories maybe. So, mm-hmm. So all these rules still kind of apply. Okay, so real quick, I'll use an example of how we kind of do this in real life, and I could use any number of clients, but I'll use Lindsay, who's our co-coach. She's a professor at Arizona State. She did a video detailing some of the stats of a diet that she did. And so I'll kind of reference that here, and then I can send out that video so that y'all can watch that to kind of basically she's showing how she did a diet phase wrong, which is exactly the inverse of how to do a reverse diet right. So it's kind of helpful to think through. And I hope to show you why doing this process is valuable by showing one of the ways that she messed up. So Lindsay, about 2 years ago, maybe a little bit more, before she was a coach for us, she did a keto diet. And and she just wanted to feel better. She wanted to be more productive in her job. She didn't have a huge weight loss goal, but she was like, yeah, if I lose fat, that's great. So she did a keto diet, and she did track her food, which is great because we've got a lot of great data to go back and look at. And she was eating 11 to 1,200 calories and about 85 grams of protein on a high day, but there were a lot of days where she was lower than that. And she lost 12 to 14 pounds. Now, the crazy thing is she actually felt amazing doing that for a little bit. And then all of a sudden the switch flipped and she started having severe rashes, severe allergic outbreaks. She would have like a bite of bread and literally she would puff up and swell up. And it's hard to say exactly what that's related to, but basically if you do crash your metabolism, your immune system is going to go down too. So like if you diet for too long or too intensely, or if you're chronically living down at this level, like Kim was, and she was training really hard, you're not setting yourself up for health. You're setting yourself up for, and it's hard to tell exactly what that is, but more likely to be ill, more likely to have some allergic reactions, all that kind of stuff. So anyways, she felt really good mentally. She felt really productive in her job, but she lost a substantial amount of muscle and she started to have some pretty bizarre symptoms. Now, currently, then after this keto diet that was very, very low calorie, she's gone back to this system, and we've worked with her. She's practicing what she preaches. She is now currently maintaining her weight at 2,600 calories, which is crazy, more than double her caloric intake. She's maintaining her weight at 2,600 calories. She is getting a personal record in strength every week that she's training. So every single week she's working, she's lifting heavier. She's feeling really, really strong. She's saying she just feels amazing during her workouts. She feels unbelievably productive in her job and at her work. And the funny thing was she came back to Knoxville to visit a little bit on her school's break. And she was like, Angie, you got to feed me. Like I need a lot of food. So one of the hard things about this is you've got to now be, the hard thing about a diet is you got to say no to everything at the Christmas table. The hard thing about stewarding your metabolism is you got to say yes to a lot of good foods. You got to budget that in, and that's hard, But anyways, so she's now currently maintaining her weight at 2,600 calories. So now I've got a question for y'all, and I'm going to throw this to y'all. I'll give y'all a couple of minutes if it takes, but I want y'all to think through what huge advantage does this give her long term? There's a couple of things you could say here, but I just want y'all to think through this paradigm. What is she setting herself up for successfully? If the question doesn't make sense, that's fine. Just ask me. I'll try to clarify it. But I do want y'all to kind of dig in and think through this.
Well, I think she's setting herself up for more stability in her the fluctuation in her weight goes. So I think it's gonna make her weight and her health more stable.
Right. Okay. It's going to make it'll allow her weight to be more stable. Why is it? Why is it going to be more stable? What is she less likely to do when she's up there with her calories and her metabolism? What's less likely to happen?
Well, it's going to keep her metabolism running at a fairly good rate. It's not going to slow it or stall it. And it's going to give her energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to help her fuel her workout.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So it's going to keep her metabolism running at a higher level going forward for hopefully the rest of her life. As long as she continues to have good habits.
Oh, I love that, Kim. I might return back to that. So it won't automatically, based on what she's done, she won't automatically have a great metabolism for the rest of her life because she's still got to be putting in some hard work. But basically, I think, but you're right. You're saying the right things. Here's how I would phrase it. It gives her tons of, she has a robust metabolism. She has tons of margin for error. She literally could not possibly go to like a bachelorette party or a Christmas party that she would eat so much that she would like she's got so much margin for error. This is when I have clients that text me and they say, hey, for the first time in my life, I went on vacation. I didn't gain weight. I actually lost a little bit of weight. It's like, yeah, you went on vacation and you couldn't even eat as much as you're normally eating in your regular life. And so the scale, goes down a little bit. So she can't possibly, so she goes on vacation to Knoxville for a week and she loses a little bit of weight, but because she's just, she's a little bit under where her metabolism is in her normal life. So she just has a ton of margin for error. And she now, in that paradigm, with that much good fuel in her body, all she has to do is show up to the gym. She feels great. And she's just naturally going to start building muscle and repairing her bones. And she's going to recover faster from injury. She's less likely to get sick, all that kind of stuff. So many people tell me, I had a hard time getting into the gym this week, the amount of times I wanted to go. And it's like, okay, the first two things I check when someone has a hard time getting into the gym. Anybody want to guess?
How are you sleeping and what are you eating?
Yes. How much are you sleeping? How much are you eating? If you ate 1,100 calories 5 days in a row and you slept 4 hours, I don't expect you to get into the gym. You're not going to go. You're going to crash after work and literally fall asleep on the couch. And so I'm not going to hit you over the head for not getting to the gym. I am going to tell, hey, how can we plan to get you some more fuel so that you feel better? But if you are crashing at 3 o'clock, heck no, you're not going to stand up, get in the car, drive to the gym at 5 o'clock if you're crashed. So, but if you're fueling well and if you've got a rhythm there, you're like I've got a client right now and she says, like, I have got so much energy. My boyfriend is telling me I have to go to the gym before I come home or else I'm going to drive him crazy. So anyways, I think
I don't know what she's having because last week I worked until 7 every night, except one night I worked till 9. I couldn't even see straight by the time I left work. I was so tired, but I kept, I was eating correctly. I was sleeping. So even though I was really tired, I actually I wasn't dragging like I thought I would be. I mean, I was mentally tired, but I physically
right.
Energy.
Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, to be able to work the long hours that you are, and there is a point where you're expending so much, you're just not going to be able to eat and maintain it. You can't just get your nutrition and eat enough and feel great. But yeah, you did kind of blunt the effect of those long hours. So that was great to see. And just me personally, if I undereat, because I'm getting a lot better at my consistent meal structure, but it's hard for most of my clients to eat the amount of food that I'm asking you to eat. That's the same for me. I mean, I'm eating over 3,000 calories a day. That's hard to do. I got to be eating something every like 2 hours, So I've got to be consistent to get really high numbers. And if I've eaten 1,500 calories by the afternoon, it's really hard for me to get into the gym and have a good workout. And so I've got to steward my gym time by fueling appropriately before. So, okay. So here's some of the other benefits of high calorie dieting. Basically, so she's maintaining her weight at 2,600 calories. She previously dieted at 1,100 to 1,200 calories. She'll now be able to diet on 2,200 calories. She can literally drop her calories down to 2,200, still feel great, still even maybe build a little bit of muscle, but she has no risk of tanking her metabolism because she's got so much margin for error. So the other huge benefit is she's very, very able to diet without having to say no to that many foods. It's very easy to adhere to that. In fact, it's really easy for her because all she has to do is just not have to eat 2,600. She just gets to eat a lot less food and still feels great. So it's actually easier for her to diet now. Most people have a really hard time dieting. She actually is going to have an easier time dieting than probably kind of maintaining. She's at zero risk of crashing her metabolism. And then the most beautiful thing about it is that after she comes out of that diet, she's very, very unlikely to put on a bunch of weight. Versus if you're dieting down at that 11, 1200, 1000, 900, there's no lower that you can go. Your metabolism won't adjust below that. So you go back up to 15, 1600 calories. Now you're storing a pound, 2 pounds a week. And you're just, so she is just, it's not going to happen with her. She's going to very sustainably be able to maintain that. So that's a lot. That's a lot of information I just threw at y'all. But, hopefully it's not the first time you've heard all that, but it is helpful to kind of continually try to put those pieces back together time and time again. And I guess I do want to encourage y'all that this is a bit of an art, because, you and I have to work together to figure out, how do we prioritize this? How do we pace this? Like, what's our timelines and all this stuff? What does your social life look like? So there's an art to it, but the foundation of the numbers here is objective. So like a lot of times it can be hard for you to wrap your head around some of this. But I just want to encourage you that, building a foundation of your metabolism as we're defining it, getting those calories up, training your muscles, building back some bone, that is a worthy pursuit, even if it's the narrow road. And, most people want to do a New Year's resolution and lose 15 pounds really fast. The difference is if you take a couple of months and build a firm foundation, it was totally worth it. Even if you don't have a pound gone from your belly, even if your weight might be up a little bit, I can just give you a lot of encouragement that building a firm foundation is totally worth it. And it's very countercultural. It's not, this isn't the way that most people think about it, but most of us have a hard time, sustainably losing the weight. So I'm excited to help kind of just guide people through this process. But those that commit to this process, I mean, you're heroes. You're doing a lot. You are putting in a lot of hard work. And so I just want to honor that. And I always seek to honor that by trying to write as good of a plan for you that works with your life as I can. So please keep giving me feedback on that, so that I can do right by you and that you can get a great result.
I think you said something about culture, and I think you're right, Andrew. I think, that our culture tells us eat less, move more, and you'll lose weight. And obviously for me and a lot of other people, that doesn't work. Because we've done it for so long that our bodies are just going, that's not going to work for you. And maybe we have some underlying conditions. So this to me makes sense because this works for me. And I haven't even gone into an active diet phase yet. So
right.
I'm looking forward to it.
And how long have we, say that again?
I was gonna say it's slow. It didn't take me, 5 months to get to this weight. So it's going to take me a lot longer than 5 months to get it off. So
right.
I'm excited.
And it is slow. But here's the way I think about it. And I actually heard someone else say this quote, and I hate it because it hurts, but I do think it's true. They said, like, how long does it take to lose weight sustainably? And he said, forever if you don't do it the right way. I was like, oh, so this is the fastest way available that I know of, and it's slow. And that's the bad news. But the good news is you are, and I think, like Kim, I'm sure you could comment on this, but I think everybody else could to some extent. But the diet culture, the diet mindset is food is bad, eat less food, pound your body to beat your body into shape. But one of the mindsets that I think people get to shift through is, no, actually food is good, food is fuel. And we probably, you can only spend a certain amount of the year, a certain percentage of the year actively losing fat. And that's okay. What that means, it sort of takes the pressure off that you don't have to just, like, losing weight is not the pinnacle of health. And it's like, I'm doing the right thing because I'm losing a little bit of weight, or I'm doing the wrong thing because I'm not losing weight. So many people get discouraged because they just have scale going down, I'm doing good, scale's staying the same, I'm doing wrong. And I want to encourage y'all that that's just not the truth.
Yeah, I'm one that somebody said earlier, they need the big picture. I kind of felt like I didn't have a vision for where I started to where the end process. And, that must be forever, really, when you think about it, taking care of yourself and fueling correctly. But this has been eye-opening for me. And I think the general population, exactly like you said, has no idea. The human body is amazing, and how you're explaining how you can take in more and not gain, and how the body uses that. That's helped me a lot today.
Good. Yeah, Renee, so I'm in the process of, I've been writing a handbook for the last several months. That's actually why I was like, hey, I want y'all on this call, because I'm trying to figure out like what's the fastest way to communicate people to understand this, because it's hard to wrap your head around it, because this is something that you never heard before. And you can say it, but you kind of got to show it. You kind of got to do it. And probably you'll realize in 3 months, 4 months, or whatever, when you apply this to your life is when you'll really begin to understand it. And so, so I'm always trying to accelerate the process for people to understand this. I apologize, I've not been as fast as I wanted. But yeah, I will definitely be trying to get this graph out in front of everybody as much as I possibly can. And in the handbook, that I've been writing, I describe each phase and show this as well. So that's something I'll be kind of releasing here soon. I just kind of have to design it a little bit.
Well, one of the things I think is so interesting is that we're all different, and while we all may have similar issues going on, we all have a different life. And what I like is that you are making this work for my life, and it's just not a generalized. Yeah, you've got the plan, but on the other hand, you like, okay, what do you have going on? Let's talk about, Christmas. Let's talk about what stressors do you have? Because we all have a life. We're all going to have births and deaths and weddings and funerals and work trips and things going on that, it may, like I said, I didn't plan on being in maintaining for the last 5-6 months, but that's just how it turned out. So I had hoped to go through a diet phase, but I'll get there. Yeah.
And as you've maintained, there's a difference between maintaining your weight and maintaining your metabolism. I mean, you've increased your food. So yes, your weight has stayed the same. But again, if you look behind the curtain, you have a stronger foundation now than you did a couple of weeks ago. And it's amazing, Kim, with all the issues that you've had, a neck and a back, and some substantial injuries. You're down a substantial amount of weight, and you are still in a better position than when you started to continue to lose more. So that's great.
Once I get that foot and ankle brace, I hope to push that exercise on up.
Yeah, I believe it. I know you can. So, all right, y'all. Anything else? Any other questions? Any other comments? I want to be mindful of y'all's time. I know we're going into. It's about to get started.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas, y'all. I get to see, like, dozens of holidays, which is really fun for me. Everybody's got a little different thing they get to do. I get to kind of live vicariously through all y'all. So I'm blessed this year.
I'm excited because my daughter and son-in-law will be home, and we've not had Christmas together in 2 years because of COVID. So I'm looking forward to seeing my children.
Awesome. I love it. Well, so I'm going to do, I have some slots available. I also sent out another holiday check-in that if y'all have got some more feedback or questions that y'all have, feel free, don't be shy. You can get another touch point. I might do some office hours, just open up my schedule on Wednesday for like an hour if y'all want to drop in and touch base again. But y'all know where to find me. Have a great holiday. And if you need help, I've sent out some resources through the email that we can touch base on. So let's just be in touch. Okay, great. I don't know that I necessarily have homework for y'all this week, but that seems weird because I think maybe it's just individual homework that I've got for y'all, but I planned on giving y'all homework this week, but then for some reason I've spaced out on it or whatever, but I'll be in touch on that. So